They call me betrayer. They do not think I hear the words bug, insect fallen. I hear House of Judgment always hears, no choice, has to. Keep houses together, had to. First the great machine, then sky fell away. Whirlwind ripped away the past. All honor lost, all hope. Judgment not enough. Cannot keep wolves from King's Scar. From winter fell to fighting, fell to hate. Judgment gone, others slaughtered, slain. Death and docking keep Elskni together, lost to pride and rage. Traveled with the many houses before wolves. We move across the dark, follow the light. Advise Kells, worshipped primes. House Judgment must survive, yes? Found the light, too bright in darkness to hide. House Winter attack, House Devil's plot, House King's plan. House Wolves circle, House Judgment wait. Now at war, fight for system control the belt. Wolves kill, dead, dying. Skolas wins control of House Wolves. Attack, attack, attack. Place of learning, place of healing, put to the burn. Then siege of Pallas, year of cruelty, held the line to rescue butchers. Murderers servitor, ends with wolf fleet scattered. New tactics. Detonations, blasts in civilian areas. Take the fight to them, he said. Cannot abide the hate. Uprising, they called it. Uprising on Kilby. Reach out to crows, to Queen. Sabelli, attack stopped. Skolas captured. Ended House of Wolves with words. Paladins blind me, hiding, cowering. Nowhere else to go. No one else to be. I become Varkis the Loyal, House Judgment envoy to Queen of Awoken. No choice. House Judgment must survive. Yes? Hope you guys enjoyed that intro that I so kindly voice acted for you guys. Welcome back to another episode of Agents of the Nine, a Destiny podcast. I'm your host, as always, Tim K.H. Hutter, riding and flying, rolling solo this week because people apparently on the East Coast can't be bothered. And, you know, like there was a bunch of stuff that happened this week in the Destiny universe, so there's actually stuff to talk about in the show. And I had been pondering some things in terms of the Destiny lore myself, so I wanted to talk about that as well. But let's talk about the biggest thing this week, which is, of course, This Week at Bungie, aka what used to be the Bungie Weekly Update for March 17th, where Deej said Destiny Update 2.20 will deploy on April 12th, 2016, and they'll hereafter refer to it as the April Update. They're saying there's going to be something for every type of Guardian in it. They say new PvE challenges, whatever that may be, new and updated gear, so that's, you know, more gear and probably more stuff from year 1 coming back in the year 2 variant. A single new quest, which I would guess means quest line, featuring the Blighted Chalice Strike. So who knows what that could be. Most likely something happening on the Dreadnought, but who knows? There's going to be increased max light and rewards, so not increased level cap, increase light level. So we can theorize we'll probably get maybe a 10-point level or light level boost there. They say sandbox and crucible updates, whatever that will be, and then of course, and more. With an ellipsis there trailing off. It's followed by a single image of all of the shadowy, cloudy purple bits and debris of the reef, as well as showing the typical 3-class guardians of, a hunter, a warlock, and a titan. But they're in their Prison of Elders gear, but they're also wearing a brand new Taken shader, which is something the community has wanted for a while. I know I've wanted it for a long time as well. And, that was just something that we'd wanted to happen ever since there was a Taken ghost shell, which looked really badass and rad. So, that's definitely something we can look forward to as well. I think it's fair to say that the image, what they say, an image is worth 1,000 words, and that we're probably going to see Prison of Elders 2.0, whether that's a brand new prison or something else entirely taking place in the Reef, but whatever that may be, dear God help us all. I know. I was not a huge fan of Prison of Elders. I wanted to love everything about it last year, but it was just not, it was not fun. It was not fun at all. And Skolas was a right bastard and just terrible. And then the nerfs and then the uppings of how hard he was to kill and stuff after that whole thing, and taking the burns off and the burns back on. It was just a nightmare. Nobody liked it except for Mike, apparently, who is also not here today. Let's see here. So they mentioned that if you own Destiny the Taken King, the April update is included with your purchase, so that stuff is coming free of charge. You'll just download the update and you'll be good to go. They're saying the next 3 Wednesdays, they're going to provide more details on Twitch each week. They're going to introduce you to some of the designers and artists to chat about what they have packed into this update. So they've listed out April update preview, new things to do, Wednesday, March 23rd, 11 a.m. Pacific time. April update preview, new things to earn, Wednesday, March 30th, 11 a.m. Pacific. And then Wednesday, April 6th, preview Sandbox and Crucible updates. Yeah, so that's a thing. Also, if you're into twitching, they have some I guess they have something called the Bungie Foundation, where you can get basically new Twitch emotes specifically to Bungie, including a Deej emote with him looking Riley with the glasses and the smoky pipe thing. So that's a thing. They're also talking about how there is new clan leaderboards that are going to appear on Bungie.net as part of the April update. And so they've got, how well your clan's doing within certain activities. There's a little bit of a lack of data about this, but they're saying that basically they're taking steps to enhance the social ecosystem, and they're saying that in order to reflect clan stats, about 200 clans will encounter some minor housekeeping. If your clan includes more than 100 people across 2 platforms, PlayStation Network and Xbox Live, you'll see your members broken out across 2 rosters in your existing private group. The older of the 2 clans will need to be given a new unique name. In my case, I'm reading directly from the update here because I'm playing solo. In my case, the Gunslingers would become Gunslingers PSN and Gunslingers Xbox Live or something similar. You'll be able to make the change in a way that suits your style. Also, if you're the founder of a clan of which you're not a member, you'll be asked to choose a captain to lead that clan as a member of your staff. If you're affected in either way, you'll receive a private message from me on Bungie.net. This is referring, of course, from Deej. The only thing you need to do in advance of this update is stay tight until April 12th. We'll do all the heavy lifting for you. So that's the biggest update here. There's obviously rampant speculation as to what the Blighted Chalice could be. That could be, it's going to be a strike, so there will be a new boss to fight, or potentially bosses, as the Shield Brothers is anything to go by. I'm honestly hoping that the quest line takes place in like a new playable area of the Reef. Maybe that's asking too much, but it kind of seems like at the very least, with very minimal evidence, that's what they're hinting at. And we've wanted to play in the Reef for more than just like a little social space for a long time, and I think that would be awesome. And Blighted Chalice could refer to anything Queen related, especially since there's a thing. I've not personally seen the audio Vidoc. Apparently it's very good and also apparently very long. But basically the actress who plays Mara Sol, who was the Queen who allegedly died in the Taken King opening cinematic, apparently she's alive, which I think we all kind of assumed, and maybe she's also secretly has Eris Morn on her side for some other thing, because the whole little crystal Darkblade thing that came out of Taken King, aka Oryx, was all very mysterious in that ending cinematic for the single player portion, or the non-raid portion of the ending of that campaign. So I'm kind of hoping it has something to do with the Queen, maybe, or maybe it's a fallen strike or something of that nature. But either way, something new is finally coming to Destiny in April, which is pretty great. To kind of take a step back a little bit, myself, Dame, and Mike have all been playing the shit out of the Division. Me and Killbot beat the game together. If you don't remember who Killbot is, he was one of the original, I guess, co-hosts on this show, and still top 1% Crucible player in Destiny. My quick reactions onto the Division, having played a majority of the game and experienced the end game, is that the end game is a little light for my taste. Raids are coming next month. We don't know what they're going to be like, but that, in terms of comparing it to Destiny, the Division is definitely similar to Destiny, but I think at the end of the day, it plays a lot more like a Splinter Cell cover shooter mixed with more elements of something from, say, Grand Theft Auto 5's online mode, along with more heavy RPG mechanics that are in more vein with Borderlands. And of course, since you can't really talk about Borderlands without mentioning Destiny, they're all sort of in a unique shared world shooter sort of thing. But that's my personal take. And I divisioned a little too hard and actually got a little divisioned out. So I actually played Destiny a little bit this week. I played with Mike and Killbot, and we did some PvP and stuff, which was the first time I ever played with Mike on Destiny, at any rate, since he just got a PS4 a week or so ago. So that was interesting, being able to put a Destiny avatar to the name Mike. And that basically does it for news here. I just wanted to also go over 2 points of lore, because we haven't done the lore in a really long time, and I know a lot of people really liked the lore, and I'm definitely a Destiny lore guy. But the first piece of lore that I wanted to bring up here, of course, as I type in the background, bringing up stuff, is that thing that I read at the very beginning, right? So it's interesting when you go into the Grimoire cards, or of course, Ishtar-collective.net, great resource, by the way, for Destiny lore fans. The Fallen were not always the Fallen. I had somehow overlooked this particular point. They were originally a race called the Elskni. I don't know how you pronounce that. Elskni? I don't know. Elskni? I don't know what the stuff is. But it's interesting because when you look in here, it says the Elskni was the name of the Fallen before the Whirlwind. They were chosen by the Traveler before humanity. According to Varkis, before the Whirlwind, the Elskni, however you say that, were in their own golden age with advanced technology that was lost and subsequently stolen by other races. The Whirlwind caused the houses to begin fighting each other, and many houses were slaughtered completely. So that's pretty surprising, actually. Like, that was definitely something that I didn't know, and there's a lot of mentionings of the Whirlwind. Yeah, it's kind of crazy here, because if we look at the timeline, right, which is also a really cool feature of Ishtar-collective.net. I'm just totally pimping their ride because it's good stuff for everybody that's Destiny related. If you look at the timeline, right, of everything that goes on in Destiny as we know it, based on the Grimoire cards and what we've seen in the game, that's canon so far, not any of the what vanilla Destiny was before it launched type of situation. The timeline basically goes ancient past, the birth of the Hive, which is very well detailed in the Books of Sorrow, which also describes the rise of Oryx and the creation of the Hive. And then we have the pre-Golden Age, and that starts with the Whirlwind, which is an event that causes the destruction of the Leskinski civilization, which is now known as the Fallen. Following that, we have the humans' first contact with the Traveler, so we can sort of make a conjecture there that the Traveler moved on to humans after the Fallen failed it, I guess, maybe. The crew of the Ares 1 makes first contact with the Traveler. And then we have humanity's Golden Age, which the Traveler ignites the Golden Age. There's a quote here that says, human lifespan tripled. It was a time of miracles, says the speaker. So the speaker's actually really old, apparently. Who knew, right? And then we have the collapse, and the war minds try to hold back the darkness. Most of the war minds are destroyed in the process. And then apparently Rasputin enters hibernation. Rasputin disappears, defeated but not destroyed by the darkness. Then we have the Dark Age. The last survivors of humanity live in small towns hidden from the invaders or in the ruins of Golden Age cities. Many wander the land hoping for some truth in the rumor that there is a last refugee beneath the Traveler. That's the thing. Then, of course, we have the City Age and the Battle of Six Fronts, which is the first battle in the history of the city, leading to the razing of the walls. Then we have the Great Amakara Hunt. The Amakara were wiped out under orders from the city. Then the Reef Wars begin. Queen Marasov ambushes the fallen House of Wolves on their way to the Battle of Twilight Gap, leading to the start of the Reef Wars, which sounded cool in its own right. Then that leads to the Battle of Twilight Gap. The fallen houses of Kings, Devils, and Winter unite, leading to the second great battle in the history of the city. The Fallen are defeated, but at great cost to the vanguard. The Reef Wars end. The Awoken are victorious. Varkis the Loyal declares Queen Marasov to be the new Kell of Wolves. Then Crota slaughters Guardians at Mare Imbrium. Then the first Crota fire team, Arana 3 and Eris Morn, form a fire team to kill Crota, and they are unsuccessful. Then basically it happens from Vanilla Destiny to the Dark Below to House of Wolves to the Taken King, as you all know, basically. We really want to dive into that, play the games. But that's what we have in the timeline there, basically. There's several Grimoire cards that reference the Whirlwind here. That includes Ghost Fragment Fallen 3, Skulls Captured, Skulls Defeated, the Kelekels, Varkis the Loyal. And it's also on the quest lines Talk to Petra, the Hunt for Skolas, and there's mention of it on the flavor text for the Doom of Chalice and the Harrowed Doom of Chalice, which is interesting. So, yeah. Another thing that is something that I had actually did some investigating into because Mike said something interesting here that Rasputin actually was the one who stopped the Traveler from leaving and or stopped the Traveler's activity. I wanted to kind of dive into that a little bit there because I find that whole subject just fascinating, actually. And I don't have that pulled up, so we're going to pause, and it'll be invisible to you because I'll keep on talking. All right, I wanted to start with Ghost Fragment Rasputin 5. I was just going to straight up read it because this theory not only comes from Mike's own conjecture and some of my own, but there's a really awesome write-up of it on a Reddit post from 9 months ago by user DeathSlay142. But I'm just going to read this Grimoire card here so you kind of know what we're talking about. This is going to be kind of weird because it's coming from Rasputin because it's Rasputin. But anyway, it says Ghost Fragment Rasputin 5. Whisper, Neutero, Needle, bunch of fucking numbers. Secret, Hadal, Arbor, AI Com, then RPSN, which I assume is Rasputin. Assets, Subtle, Imperative, Contingent, Action Order. This is a subtle assets imperative, no human review, no AI com review, secure arbor. Stand by for criteria. Under Kerhe, white or black, if security state is Egyptian, if event rank is tailhard, traumatic context, or sky shock, outside context, if Volupsa is active and in failure, synapse to Fanar, suitor, if Yuga is active and in sundown, if AI com has granted permissive potentiation to outboard resilient instances, if a civilization kill event is underway, all flexions, if tactical morality is built at midnight, stand by for decision point. If available ISR and War Watch indicates imminent, then it has in brackets, pretty sure it's O. It has in brackets O, departure, then brackets O, departure compromises human/neo-human survival and APOC strategy. Stand by for abhorrent imperative. Activate Loki Crown. Perform deniable authorization. Full cadiometric and neotic release. Prevent brackets O departure by any means available. Stand by for effect assessment criteria. Coerce pseudo-dualtristic bracket O defense action. Defer civilization kill. Stop. The bunch of numbers and letters. So that's wacky to read aloud. But just like diving in and straight up reading this post here because it's so good. Let me throw it on a larger screen here. Hold on. So, okay. So Rasputin. Rasputin crippled the Traveler, but only because he had no choice, to stave back the darkness and buy us time. The Awoken Ward unintended side effect. You've all heard of Rasputin, the lost war mind of Earth, one of a number of super-intelligent AI built to aid and defend mankind against the beyond. You've also probably heard now... Whoops, I fucked that up. I pressed a thing. Where was I? You've also probably heard how he's the only one left, the last war mind. Rasputin managed to survive when the others were destroyed. There are rumors aplenty around that Rasputin went mad, that he locked himself away and let humanity to die, that he destroyed an entire fleet of humans merely to provide a distraction, that he's lashed out and crippled the Traveler when it made a move to betray us and leave. I don't believe any of this is true, at least not intentionally. Rasputin's weaponry. I posted this next part in last week's Thor Thursday thread, but I've copied it here for better exposure. First off, Ghost Fragment Old Russia covers the launch of an orbital weapon. Quote, yes, it is an antimatter payload, a strategic asset. Specifically, I believe it's an annihilation-pumped cadiometric weapon. He goes on to say here, cadio is the Latin to cut out/down to pieces, so this weapon is presumably designed to tear into its target and rip it apart from the inside. The entire card has a tone of secrecy to it, mentioning things done so nobody would notice. It ends with, end quote here, we both know where the order came from. In Ghost Fragment Rasputin, we hear Cade 6 talking about Rasputin's armaments. Quote, Rasputin pretty much ran the Golden Age, especially all the secret military business. Rasputin had antimatter-powered death rays and 100,000 satellites and nearly as much brain power as me. Rasputin fought the collapse and knows things we need. This pretty much confirms that the weapon launched was under Rasputin's control, and probably ordered by Rasputin himself. Next, we have Ghost Fragment Mysteries, which, while it isn't immediately obvious, is Rasputin discussing his fight against the darkness. I bear an old name. It cannot be killed. Quotes. Rasputin's namesake was known for surviving dozens of assassination attempts against all odds. Quote, I fought it with Aurora knives and with the stolen unfire of singularities made sharp. End quote. Knowing Rasputin's weaponry from the previous cards, this starts to tie into the idea of the weapon being blades, knives that cut from the sky with immense power. Finally, we get to the Ghost Fragment the Traveler 3 card. The first two lines, quote, the knife had 1,000,000 blades, and you were giant, powerful and swift, but the knife pinned you, cut your godly flesh away. End quote. Sounds a lot like Rasputin's weapons, doesn't it? While not a certainty, this gives strong evidence to Rasputin being behind the Traveler's current condition. But you said Rasputin didn't cripple the Traveler. I said that it wasn't out of spite or malice. I believe it was a purposeful action that might just have saved us. The Traveler. Recently, in the wake of the recent confirmation that the Traveler was once on the fallen world, there's been a lot of speculation that the Traveler planned to abandon us when the darkness arrived, just as it did the Fallen, and that Rasputin stopped it. I disagree with this theory. Firstly, Rasputin is a logical AI. Striking down an ally to prevent them running away is an act of no self-benefit. Purely irrational vengeance. If anything, it would be of greater benefit to let them go. They could draw the enemy away, especially if it was they that attracted them in the first place. Secondly, the Traveler wanted to stay. This card implies that they were tired of endlessly being chased across the stars by the darkness, that they instead wished to make a stand and fight back. So what happened? We know that the collapse wasn't instant. Many a battle was raged on all planets in the space in between. Rasputin documents his interaction with a manifestation or metaphorical representation of the darkness itself. The last two lines are the most important here. Quote, "It is alone, and it is strong, and it won. Even over the gardener, and she held power beyond me, but the gardener did not shrug and make herself alone. It always wins. I am made to win, and now I see the way." End quote. This dispels the idea that Rasputin gave up. He claimed to have glimpsed a way to fight back the darkness, and with his weaponry, I believe he did just that. The collapse. Rasputin's obviously made a major move, and on top of this, and now I see the way, comment, there's some interesting data in the Ghost Fragment Rasputin 3 card. Quote, total strategic collapse imminent. Fenar Hart reports complete operational mortality. Suitor drown in progress, but negative effect. Forecasts unanimously predict terminal Volupspa failure. End quote. It's possible Fenar was another war mind, and this report is at the verge of their failure, along with their emergency protocols failing. 2, these names are all Norse-themed, and seem to imply last-ditch efforts to defeat an almighty enemy. Quote, as of CLS000, a hard civilization kill event is in progress across the operational area. End quote. This seems to be a prediction that humanity is on the verge of being wiped out, at the very least on a number of worlds, at most entirely. Finally, the most important part. Quote, I'm declaring Yuga Sundown effective on receipt. APOC reach Foricon variant. Cancel counterforce objectives. Cancel population protection objectives. End quote. Yuga is the Hindu concept of a great day-night cycle, lasting billions of years. Initially, during the day, humanity is closest to the gods in their golden age. Eventually, the days end and humanity drifts further into the darkness, growing weaker and weaker. Yuga's sundown implies that Rasputin was declaring the golden age at an end, and that all hope of conventional retaliation was past. Quote, format moral structures for midnight exigent. End quote. This implies that Rasputin is about to do something normally considered highly immoral, as his last-ditch effort to beat the darkness. It seems that the best way to fight darkness is with light, and what greater source of light than the Traveler itself? It's my opinion, with this information, that Rasputin intentionally turned its arsenal on the Traveler, and crippled it in an almighty blow that sent a wave of light lashing out over the solar system, pushing the darkness back. The Awoken. The darkness wasn't the only thing out there, though. Halfway out the solar system, the last fleet of humanity, a wave of colony ships carrying a huge population was right in the middle of the oncoming storm. Caught up in the wake of the blast, the ships were torn apart, smashed into one another, and scattered throughout the asteroid belt. But some survived. Those who made it out were forever changed and fused by an incredible power. It seems that it completely remade their entire being. The survivors had no recollection of what came before and even who they were. They made a life for themselves out in the asteroid belt, led by their queen. Edit. As an additional point, it's possible that the Queen's Harbinger superweapons, and it links C here and here, are of the same type of antimatter weapons Rasputin used, that survived the destruction of the fleet. It's the only thing we've encountered so far that would theoretically be powerful enough to destroy a dwarf planet. In summary, this theory is largely pieced together from a lot of isolated sources that I saw links between, so it's very likely I've missed things or jumped to the wrong conclusion somewhere. Regardless, this is the best place that I can piece things together, and nothing stands out as being out of place to me. A brief look back at the logical chain. Bullet points. The Awoken seem to be beings of enhanced light, and the reef is the remnants of humanity's colony fleet. Something light-based destroyed the fleet. The darkness retreated. When on the verge of defeating us, this implies something pushed it back.
the Traveler is the only source of light strong enough to do either of these two things. With the evidence provided, it seems that something attacked the Traveler, crippling it. Rasputin has the means, the motivation, and the cunning to orchestrate this entire situation, as well as an armory of similar nature to the Traveler's wounds. If anyone has any extra sources, theories, thoughts, or holes to point out, please post them. And I'll try to adapt this with as much information as I possibly can and see if any problems can be worked around. So that's a shit ton of data to dive into there. And I think that this dude, Deslay142, is fucking spot on the goddamn money. Because it's he's making all the right connections, and with things that I've seen and the Grimoire that I've looked at, it seems that's maybe what happened. So I want to proffer my own idea into this thing. So if Rasputin, being the most powerful of the human AIs on planet Earth, had the power to cripple the Traveler, that seems to me to imply that A, the Rasputin knows what the Traveler is and some degree of how it works in order to be able to attack it, and B, potentially maybe has some way to interface with the Traveler to get data from it, which seems to me to lead to a conjectured conclusion that possibly the Traveler is a giant AI. And what do we know in Destiny is a giant AI? The Vex. So I'm going to throw out a wild theory that what if the Traveler is some version of the Vex from the future or the past or some weird pinpoint or other dimension in time? Just saying. Just saying. That's what I got. Yeah. Well, alrighty, Guardians, that does it for this week's episode of Agents of the Nine flying solo. Hopefully, I got enough cool data out and lore out to make this an interesting and worthwhile episode to listen to. Fucking 30 some odd minutes of me fucking blathering onto the microphone. Yeah, I'm your host as always, Tim K. Trotter, signing off. Remember, of course, to check out our brand new website, www.dynamicworksproductions.com, where you can find links to Rising Tide, a Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast, as well as links to find and buy my ebook, The Citadel Arrival, which is available on iTunes iBookstore and Amazon Kindle for $2.99. Buy a book, support this show. And I'm gonna LFG click vote, type into the proverbial search field, as it were, if anybody listens to this show and is interested in being on it. I'm more than willing to have a Skype chat with you, and we'll figure out a thing, and we'll get you on the show. Yeah, so you should do that. If you're interested in doing that, go ahead to www.dynamicworksproduction.com and go to the contact area there and fill out an email, and just put it in the subject line, Agents of the Nine, and that'll pop out of a gluttony of other spam stuff on my email, and I'll take a look at it, and we'll hook up probably on Skype or something. You can also, of course, reach out to us on our Facebook page, and we have a Twitter as well, which I don't have pulled up here, but literally all of that data is on the website, so that's what I'm going to start telling people to do now, because I'm too lazy to have printed out a new page to read from. Yep, that's the kind of show this has devolved into. Alrighty, Guardians, peace out. The Citadel Arrival is the first installment in a series of epic science fiction short stories reminiscent of the Pulp Fiction style. It's a fast-paced story that will take you through twists and turns that you will not expect, until they are thrust upon you with all the force, excitement, and chaos of a plasma cannon blast. The story follows Katarl, a nobody cog in the working wheels of a futuristic society run completely by Megacorp, a corporation that carefully runs and manages the lives of the people living under its sphere of power. On one of Katarl's few and far between days off from work, an outing he had hoped would be fun and relaxing turns into an explosive adventure that drags him kicking and screaming into situations and challenges that will make him question every aspect of his life. Watch this colorful tapestry unfurl as Katarl and his newfound allies find their way through this classic, yet oddly surprising tale of good and evil, where nothing is quite what it appears to be. That's The Citadel, A Rival by author Tim K.A. Trotter, available right now on Amazon Kindle Store and iTunes iBookstore for only $2.99.
This is Dominic Armato, the voice of Guybrush Threepwood, and you're listening to a Dynamic Works production podcast.
Guardian down.